Hello, my name is Avon and I am the CRM specialist at Relevate. Today we're going to go through using online forms to capture information. Now, if you've ever hired anyone, you'll know the pain of having to print out 20 pieces of paper, send it over to them. They go and fill out the form, but some of the data comes back incorrect. 2 looks like a 7, and then you have to manually upload it into a system, scan all the documents in, etc. Very, very time consuming, very, very frustrating. So online forms are the way to go to collect any form of information in your business. In this example, I've got a Zoho form here, and you can see that I'm collecting a platform listing. So we've got a software directory and we want to list platforms on our listing or directory so that people can find them, review them, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to outsource the work and the content collection to the person. They're going to fill out the form anyway because they have to either answer me in an email or send a reply with a document that I've provided them. So in this case, I've made an online form with all of the questions that I find relevant. So what's the short description? And I've put a cap on the word limit, the long description, who it's for, why it's used, pricing, etc. And that helps me to list it effectively in the platform. You can see there's required fields, so the certain minimum amount of information is collected. Okay, so now that you know what a form looks like, let's think about where it's going to go. Now, in this scenario, I've got a list of the form entries. Now, you can have it directly go into CRM, perhaps as a lead, or into your database in general. But in this case, it's going into the CRM, and I've created a module, which is affiliates, which is where we track all of those software programs. And as you can see, there's quite a few that have been submitted. And I'm also using a listing status. So that's when I receive it. I'm then going to process it and put it into an online platform on the website. And then once I've reviewed it, I'm happy, my team has gone through it, I'm going to change it to published. And so that I know which ones to look at, they're going to mark it as for review. So you can see here the last 2 that were entered. This one here, they've entered their first name as the affiliate name. Now, if we go back over to the form, you can see platform name, which is actually mapped in the back end to affiliate name. That doesn't really make sense. So I've highlighted an error and I know what platform this is. So I'm just going to change the name. And then I'm going to go back to the form, and I probably want to give some indication of what kind of information I'm looking for here. So I'm going to go to the form builder, and here is the platform listing application. So let's go into that in the edit section. And in the form itself, I've got the area to put the description. I've got a hidden field that says created by. So this one, it's automatically going to tell me that a representative from the platform has filled this form out. So I know who created it. So that way I know whether someone who's a guest has told us about the platform, whether an internal staff member has reviewed it, or whether the platform company themselves. So hidden fields are a really great way to do that. So here I've got platform name, and I've got it's mandatory. There's some word limits. So I'm going to add some instructions here which say this is the name of your software platform. Now, sometimes you may want to revisit and have a look at this just to make sure that what you want to occur is actually occurring. So sometimes you'll send a form out. You think it makes sense, platform name, but they might not. They might say, all right, well, that's my own name. And so having that help text, having these guidance things. So for example, this is an open text field. This one is an email. So we'll only accept an email with an @ and a .com or a .something. So making sure, and this one being the phone. So making sure that, if you want to include the country code, that these platform or that these form fields give explicit instructions. And, say for example, with the short description, I want to put that somewhere where it's only going to have, a small space, like on the banner card that's going to display before someone then clicks into the platform. So rather than me having to boil that down into a small, succinct statement, I can get them to do it. And so there's the short description, the long who it's used for, and you can see all these fields that we created that also exist over here in this platform. So here's some internal fields as well. So guest reviewer backlink, description, payout threshold. We've got internal review, rating, last review date, internal review comments. So we want to know what we think on top of what they say the platform is. So if I go back to the form builder, the way to get the information from the form and into that space where I then run through a process of we've collected the information, we review the information, we do the process that we need to do with the information. There's a checking process after that with like a status field, and then there is the publishing, and then we move on to the next activity. So if I go over to the integration settings, there's a couple things going on. So here I've got it integrating with Zoho CRM. Now, in saying that, you can sometimes integrate it via the fact that you've sent an email, or that the system sends an email when the form is completed. So in this case, you can see all of those fields that are mapped to similar fields in the CRM. I've also got an attachment. I'm tagging records, and I'm also triggering any automations and processes to occur. So that way, the next steps are generally taken care of. I can also do things like have rules so that different fields are displayed. So a form that's potentially 5 pages long can be 2 pages of only the relevant things. You know, are you A or B? If A, only the A related questions will be displayed. So then we've also got this acknowledgements and redirect, and that's how you can redirect them to a thank you page, to the next action that you want them to perform. Perhaps it's another form. Perhaps it's you want them to upsell onto something. Then we've got things like email notifications. So here I've got it going to our support desk, where it goes into we become aware of it. We then start doing everything that we need to in relation to that, as well as it being put into the CRM. So we know that we have a task queue of things that we need to do work on. I've got a copy going to myself, but at a certain volume, you may not want that. Some project management tools allow you to have an email to task email, like a special email code that doesn't really make sense when you look at it, but you can put it in here as well, so that every time a form is completed, it creates a project item or a task for you then to go and manage through to completion. And that's what I was talking about over with these status fields. So going back out to the top level here. So we've got published or for review. If there's nothing there, it means that something needs to happen to it. Alternatively, if you wanted to say to put a new as an item in there, then you would create a hidden drop down in the form itself, such as the hidden field that we had over here, which was created by. So you would just create a new drop down which says new, and then you would map that field to the drop down over in your record which says new. So you know that would automatically update the status of that field. You would know that you have a backlog of work that you can just come to and knock it off progressively with a predetermined system and plan. Okay, so that is how to use forms to collect information, create a task queue of tasks that you need to complete. And once you've collected the information, you don't want to spend time. You want to remove the step of you having to manually enter the information. So that allows you to put the form, send a nice form to your customer. They put in the information. You then just review it, do the next task that you have to do on it, and then mark it as done. So that saves you a ton of time and a ton of effort and energy in managing just the basic flow of information. You'll find it's more accurate, it's faster, and you have a better relationship with your clients as a result. So that is using forms and integrating it with other platforms to handle the information properly. Thank you very much.